Great civilizations are not killed. Instead, they take their own lives. A study funded by NASA revealed that advanced ancient civilizations that existed on Earth thousands of years ago were susceptible to collapse, just like we are today. Is there a mysterious, chaotic pattern within civilizations? How many times have you heard in history books that a great power in the distant past became so advanced and uncontrollably powerful that it eventually fell? You may think that you haven't heard of it at all in history books, but you are mistaken. If we look back at our historical books, which, by the way, are incomplete, you will notice that in the distant past, looking at, for example, the 18th century, there were countries like France that were considered a world superpower. Their powerful culture developed at such a speed that in the end they felt superior and behaved irresponsibly. With vast territories abroad, uncontrolled spending of money will ultimately lead to catastrophic budget holes that, in turn, have led to incurring debts, and chaos soon followed. It is true that there were numerous cultures and civilizations before that, which, just like France and other countries, created their own collapse. If we look back at history 3,000 to 5,000 years, we will find historical records that clearly show how advanced and sophisticated civilizations were susceptible to collapse just like we are today. Although lifestyles in the distant past differed greatly from today's, it has turned out that there is a lasting pattern embedded in humanity that raises numerous questions about our sustainability as a civilization, ultimately calling into question our ability to remain afloat as a complex society and culture. If we look back over the past 10,000 years, we will discover that there were numerous advanced civilizations on Earth that preceded the Incas, Olmecs, and Egyptian civilizations, and which mysteriously vanished without a trace. Let's look at the example of the ancient Maya. The ancient Maya were one of the most advanced and sophisticated ancient civilizations that ever ruled the Earth. This ancient civilization that flourished in the jungles of present-day Mexico, Guatemala, and Belize is noted for the Maya script, the only known developed writing system of pre-Columbian America. Mayas created fascinating monuments, pyramids, ancient cities, writing techniques, and unusually, like many other great civilizations, and they disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Apart from the ancient Maya, researchers around the world have found similar patterns in other civilizations that, just like the Maya, collapsed and disappeared. Many scientists claim that it is difficult to foresee the enormous number of recurring patterns in most of these civilizations, and a study partially funded by NASA provides us with evidence that there are certain chaotic characteristics of ancient cultures that lived on Earth for thousands of years and eventually disappeared. Many consider it a sign that clearly indicates that ancient civilizations have reset several times. In the report of scientists and their models of the dynamics of man and nature, it is claimed that the process of rise and collapse is actually a recurring cycle found throughout history. The rim of the Roman Empire and equally, if not more, advanced empires like the Han, as well as such an empire as Mesopotamia, testify that advanced, sophisticated, complex, and creative civilizations can also be fragile and unstable. The study found that technological changes can increase the efficiency of resource use, but they also tend to increase resource consumption per capita. So, in the absence of policy effects, an increase in consumption often compensates for increased efficiency in resource use. Civilizations are often responsible for their decline, however. They are usually aided by their self-destructs. Collapse is often rapid and size does not provide immunity. The Roman Empire covered 4.4 million square kilometers in the year 390. 5 years later, it collapsed over to million square kilometers. By the year 476, the reach of the empire was zero. What can the rise and fall of historical civilizations tell us about our own? What are the forces that accumulate or postpone collapse? And do we see similar patterns today? Scientists have identified the following reasons: climate change, crop destruction and poor living conditions, environmental degradation, deforestation, water pollution, inequalities and oligarchy, social unrest, complexity. Dysfunctional system leads to collapse. External factors, wars and conquests, and finally coincidence. Bad luck as one of the possible reasons. Practically all past civilizations have faced this fate. Some have recovered or transformed. Like the Chinese and Egyptians, other collapses were permanent, as was the case with Easter Island. Sometimes cities at the epicenter of collapse come to life, as was the case with Rome. In other cases, such as the ruins of Maya, they have been left abandoned like a mausoleum for future tourists. If the fate of previous civilizations can be a guide for our future, what does it say? Imagine a civilization as a poorly built ladder. As you climb, each step you used falls away. The drop from a height of just a few steps is fine. However, the higher you climb, the greater the drop. In the end, when you reach a sufficient height, every fall from the ladder is fatal. Any collapse, any fall from the ladder, risks being permanent. The decline of our civilization is not inevitable. History suggests that it is likely, but we have a unique advantage in that we can learn from the ruins of past societies. We know what needs to be done. The proposals are there. Only the will is missing. We will march into collapse only if we progress blindly. We are only condemned if we do not want to listen to the past.